You are live. We are live. Hello. Hello and welcome everybody.
Hello, hello.
It's the week before ETHDenver, one of the major events of the Ethereum calendar. Basically like the regional event for North America. So that's coming up. So yeah, as well as the usual Strato crew, we have Colin de Picker here. Is that how you pronounce your surname, Colin?
Yeah, that's correct. That's my name. Hi, everyone. So yeah, Colin is my actual name. Most people know me under the name of Shiba Tarzan, which is like the crypto name I use. But yeah, my actual name is Colin. So
sometimes Shiba Tarzan, sometimes Crypto Tarzan. So is there some
yeah,
history?
The Twitter handle is Crypto Tarzan. I mean, that was my name that I chose when I initially joined the space, and then when we did our like ENS thing with Boo, then I had to came up with an original ENS name, and then it became Shiba Tarzan. I don't know how, but I came up with it, so I think it's quite funny if you think about like the meme.
I guess it sticks forever, like Victor's Vic for Wong that we've told the story of before.
Yes.
Yeah, probably is gonna be
the heritage handles story. So yeah, we're here. Myself, Bob Sumwell, head of ecosystem, Kieran James Lubin, CEO, Victor Wong, Vic4 Wong, CPO, three CPO, and Michael Tan, who has got a little demo for us, which we're going to start with.
Sure. Hey everyone. So back here with another demo of Strato. This for the last week and a half going forward, we're currently in a trading and referral contest, which I'll be showing you an update on. Let's start with that. So right now our top gainer is anonymously 10D28F. 4% gain, not very much. So everyone's got a chance if you would like to have a late entry in. As for the referral contest, we currently have 3 by this user in our community. And yeah, a couple of referrals here. We're also going to be talking about the vault that we've added as of last Friday. Let me show you that. So this is the current position, a vault position I have on mainnet. I've deposited 144.96 of gold, and I've currently earned $1.84. But let's do a little demo on the testnet. Make my first deposit here. This account currently has USDST and silver. Oh, no silver. Let's put 5 USDST. Confirm deposit. Still depositing. Successfully deposited. Great. So if you click this link, you can see what tokens are currently in the vault. It's a market making vault that just kind of rebalances the pools, and we give everybody an opportunity to participate in some of the APY. On the mainnet, it's currently 102.67, which is great. You can also find recent activity of the swaps by the vault here. And this is all done with our automated market making bot, which you can actually find a blog about on our website. And if you ever want to withdraw, you just hit the withdraw, and there you have it.
Hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Jump in on the bot quickly. So the APY obviously phenomenally high. As the assets go up, it will probably not be as phenomenally high. It is measuring the true change in underlying asset value. So theoretically, all the trades are profitable, or it doesn't do them. But it's also so then the risk is sort of inventory risk, right? Like it still has to hold ETH and so on, but it is up in absolute terms. And when you deposit to it, it's sort of one asset at a time, mark the market. So if you got some gold tokenized, you deposit that. You've got some ETH, you deposit that, and so on. But you can't just pick and choose on the withdrawal. So you just get a sort of pro rata share of the bot's assets on withdrawal, which hopefully have increased. But just so you know, so if you deposit, and then you're confused when you get a basket of assets back. That's the why. But yeah, it's APY is very high at the moment. We're excited about it.
Everyone, take advantage now while you can.
Okay. Well, thank you. I guess we'll move on to Denver. Do you want to hang around, Mike? You coming to Denver?
Yes. I'm arriving Monday night.
Excellent. So I was counting how many times I've been to ETHDenver, and I think 2009 was my first. So I think this is maybe my fifth or my fourth. Anyone else? Veterans of Denver?
I went early, and then we had a few years where we just sort of skipped it in our enterprise days. But I think we went and sponsored in 2017 actually, and so it was still kind of had like organic feel to it. I think it still does. I mean, it's one of the unique ones where, by the way, okay, so how are the tickets done? I know we've dealt with it at a corporate level, but it's a free event, right? But is it like a lottery? Like, how do you?
No, it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
So you can go for free, right? That's kind of a key thing, right? It started out very hackathon-y. So it's always been a grassroots volunteers, like no ticket prices for normies. But you have to join the sport DAO for your free ticket. So you have to do this onboarding. At least now I think you don't actually have to use a wallet. I think you used to in some prior years. You had to. There seems to be like a Web 2.0 onboarding kind of flow, gasless, that gets you there. But there's quite a few screens of stuff to click through, that's for sure. Or you can just pay. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know what the numbers are going to be this year. Probably around 20,000, from what I understand. That seems to be what the case was last time. How about yourself, Victor? You've been a few times?
Yeah, like Kieran, I was there early, and then I think I went again. My first kind of kickstart was last year.
Right.
And, yeah, now we're going back again. So.
And I know it's your first time, Colin.
Yeah, for me, it's gonna be the first time. I mean, I started actually going last year to a ETH event, so this is the first time that there's like an opportunity for me to go to Denver. So yeah, I'm excited. I heard like a lot of different opinions. People say it's great. Other people say kind of changed over the years, and it's a bit more, more marketing related and less, core Ethereum stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try to experience it for myself and see what it's all about. I mean, like you said, 20,000 people is still, I mean, it's the only major US event I think there is in the year. So yeah, I'm quite excited to explore it. I think it's gonna be great. Also, they like changed the format from what I heard. I mean, maybe Bob, you can explain a bit on like what changed there, and if it's like gonna have an impact on the previous years, of course. But yeah, I'm quite excited for my first time.
Have you been before, Mike? Have you been before, Mike?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was there last year with you.
Oh, yes. And that was your first?
Yes, that was my first.
There we go. So yeah, I mean, Colin, you were at FCC last year. I mean, I think
yes,
they're fairly comparable-ish sizes. I kind of think of like, FCC is the European one and ETHDenver's the North American one. Kind of similar-ish size.
Yeah,
different
ETC just had like, I feel like it had like a lot of side events. I mean, because like for ETC, the main event tickets were just like, I mean, they were super pricey. I think it was like 500 euros for a ticket. And just like many people or like many developers just came to Ken, and then they just like went to all the side events to get like the free drinks, the free food, like always, and then try to connect somewhere, try to get a job. I mean, I spoke to like many people at ECC that were actually trying to get a job into the crypto space, and they said, oh yeah, the main event is too expensive. So that's why I also think there were so many side events at ECC. I mean, for like the location, Ken is not that big. I mean, Bob, you explored it. I mean, compared to like a city like Denver, it's like super small. And then, I mean, there were so many side events. It was just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's become the curse of the major events. Is they kind of become like a meeting point. They're like, oh right, if you're there, like people will be there, right? So they become like a are you going to be there? And it's kind of like not so tied even to the main event. It's just like, are you physically going to be in that place on those days? Yes, great. Where are you going to be? What are you going to be doing? I don't know. There's all these different side events. Just sign up for 100 things and see what you get and see where people are. They can be very, very fragmented. I mean, my understanding of the move to Cannes was partly to try and like counter that, because at least it's like a physically smaller place. So the side events have to be kind of closer together, so you're not so fragmented. When I went to SEC the prior year in Brussels, I felt that was very, very fragmented. Like, I think, that was kind of a really bad kind of year that they had to sort of react to. And it has been a criticism of in Denver as well. I mean, one thing I've seen that's happening in Denver this year is, like happened in DevConnect, of kind of like the World Fair, lots of things under the same roof. There seems to be kind of a push to that kind of thing, right? Of saying, well, we're going to get lots of threads under that same, banner. It's like, come to the main site and stay, right? There's enough going on that you don't have to leave. You've got these different threads happening.
Well, I think one of the challenges that ETHDenver has, and I kind of felt this at DevConnect this year, was that the event itself is in the middle of nowhere. So you got to kind of make a call between and a lot of the side events are downtown. So you got to kind of make a call of like, do I stay downtown or do I go out there? And it kind of depends on who you're meeting, really. Sometimes it just makes more sense to kind of stay downtown.
Yeah. Have a day here, a day in the middle, a day on the other side.
Yeah, there's no middle, and that's the problem, right? Like, there's just you just gotta go one or the other. I almost I tried a bird scooter for the first time last year, trying to shuttle myself, and that was terrifying. I'll never do that again. I'm way too old for that.
Yeah, I went on a Lime scooter thing in Austin one time, and it was like, this is so dangerous.
Yeah.
In Austin. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's
just like a rattly, crappy bit of road at the side, no helmet, just like, this is bad. Well, one of the things that I saw as part of our sponsorship, which was quite interesting at ETHDenver, is they actually have a condition in there to be a sponsor of the main event, that you have to promise not to have a competing event during core hours. I thought that was quite interesting. It's like, right, hey, you want to be in the gang? No straight competition. Because I mean, that's a real killer thing, right? It used to be side events were, in the evening, days before, days after. And now it's just, no, we're just like, we're having our main conference on exactly the same day as you, like just straight competition. Yeah, it's funny how the norms have changed. Like, Victor, you talked about that with regard to Ripple and
Consensus. Oh no, it was Cybos Toronto.
Cybos and Ripple.
So it was yes, that they kind of got booted out, and then they made their parallel conference later. Though their parallel conference, had.
And this was a few short years ago, but very amazing and controversial at the time that you would dare to, have some competing content in the same city at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it was yes, and well, I think the big thing was they had these like giant Ripple buses in front that like ferried you to Norvend. So it was just like, yeah, like, also in the days when they saw blockchain as a direct competitor to Swift. I think that ship has sailed. Like, I think it definitely is a competitor.
Yeah, I mean, talking about sort of the corporate thing that you were mentioning there, Colin. So, there has been some criticism of ETHDenver specifically for having like headline sponsors that are Ethereum killers in quotes. So it's like, how dare you have whatever, like Polkadot as a primary sponsor, or BNB, or Cosmos or what have you. But they've always had this. They've always had a line. So it's not like we had a token where you've got Tron everywhere and Justin Sun's face pasted all over the shop. Like that's not happening. And you're not seeing like BitBoy as a main speaker as happened in Blockchain Futurist in Toronto. So there is a line which I think has sort of been like, Ethereum and friends, with a number of those friends having become L2s or EVM support over time anyway. So it's kind of like a Big Ten vision. But also saying, that sponsorship is key for keeping the tickets free for normal people, which is
well. Now that Vitalik doesn't like L2s, do we still have that division?
All right,
are they out of the tent?
Yeah, there we go.
No, yes, as long as they've got their ICO
sponsor this year.
Yes, exactly. Like, well, the other thing that's a little bit different, Colin, about ETHDenver, it's like you have like the hardcore dev conferences, Dev Connect, DevCon, and then you have like what I would call the commercial conferences, Consensus, Token, or these ones. But ETHDenver is kind of in the middle. I think they try to be the culture conference, but it's a little bit of both. So it's
I think also, like, for example, like Dev Connect is like almost fully organized by the Ethereum Foundation. I mean, they have like a full Dev Connect team for it. So that kind of makes sense. But like from what I spoke to a few guys of the EF also lately, and they say like they have been making their way more into Denver this year than they did before. Like there is going to be an Ethereum Foundation Day, if I am right. Yeah, there's going to be like a full day for them. And they have like a whole section also this time. So like you say, like I think what you say, Victor, is a bit in the middle this time. And absolutely, like on other events like Token Dubai, Token Singapore, that's like even more to the commercial side. And I mean, you won't see like the EF that much there. Not much of the core principles, I think. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit in the middle, but I see still like a lot of chances and opportunities. I mean, it is still like the biggest, like I said before, the biggest US event, 20,000 people coming there. I mean, there's still, I mean, it's a big audience, but you don't need to lie about it. It's a big audience still. So I think there's still a lot of chances for them.
Yeah, and Karen, like in the past, I think like the first time we went, there were like a couple hundred people, and then like next year it was like 1,000. Yeah, when it got huge quick. Yeah,
it felt familiar, right? It was kind of, and it was very Denver, like it was like down the street from the dispensaries. There's kombucha on tap. I assume that maybe still is there, but yeah, it had a kind of like hippie agora feel to it, which maybe it still does. We're gonna see.
I mean, that sports palace was a cool building. So apparently, I was wondering like why it had the setup it had, which is like these sort of like stories with like ramps around between them. But apparently, it used to be like a car warehouse place. That's why.
Interesting.
Oh.
But you just had this multi-level thing with sort of ramps going up and around it, and some of them were talks and some was happening. But yeah, it was only a few hundred.
I might be getting this wrong, but I remember. So I think the venue has changed again. At some point, it was like a rodeo, right?
No, it's the same. It's the same venue, but a different building on that same complex.
Okay, I see. Gotcha. But I remember I was catching up with John some years ago, and he was telling me just the lengths he had to go to deal with the amount of people who want to come, which are pretty extreme. Like on the order of renting out a stadium, which is pretty funny to me.
Yeah, it's certainly a pretty major kind of undertaking there. But yeah, there has always been a large sort of cultural and artsy kind of part to it as well. So yeah, I mean, the thing I've been mainly involved with there is this Museum of Ethereum. So when you come into the venue, you go through the main ticketing. There is going to be an area which is called Biddle Alley, New Biddle City, which is kind of a Blade Runner-y sort of futurescape, somewhere like Meow Wolf or Harry Potter, Diagon Alley kind of vibes of going through this area, and there are going to be various different sub areas and zones in there. But yes, one of the large ones there is Museum of Ethereum, which we are sponsoring as our Golem of DevCon 0 presentation age, and then ourselves DevCon 1 era. So super OGs still going, and it's a mixture of physical and digital artifacts, drawing largely from the early days of Ethereum, bios and interviews and everything. Also, some photos through 2014, largely from Taylor Gehring. Also, some of them from the Toronto Bitcoin Expo in April 2014. And then the other thing I've been working on for that, which I think is really, really cool, I've called the Ethereum Time Machine. So what I'm providing there is an authentic experience of running original software. So I have got 2 2010 era white plastic MacBooks and 2 chunky ThinkPads. And so I was trying to get back to Frontier software. I can run Frontier software. However, the second phase is actually mining. So the goal I had is, can you run, 2015 era software on contemporary hardware, CPU mine the chain back to life? So that's what I've been working on, like in the background for a couple of months. So basically, like GPUs at first get the thing moving, and then as it's moving, the difficulty's coming down and you're easing off. So I'm in the final phases of that. I wanted to revive Frontier. Sadly, that's a very, very expensive proposition that maybe some other future sponsor would like to drop 15 or 20K of GPU on. But yes, I have revived Homestead. So, what you'll have there is running Mist at Homestead, CPU mined, transactions back and forth, sitting there, getting, the real experience of 10-year-old software, original chain, original protocol. So that was fun. So to get to
pulling
that,
out your hair optional in the real experience, or like?
I'm sorry?
Is pulling out your hair in frustration optional or required in the real experience? Because I remember a lot of that myself.
I'm just hoping they don't crash too often.
Yeah, I remember miss crashing a lot. Like when we were playing around with it. So
yes, there will be reboot instructions on hand. So there's also.
Are you going to be doing tech support on hand too? With like,
I hope not. I hope to have left sufficient instructions that competent people can keep it going. Otherwise, there might be some downtime. But yeah, so there's that. There's also a big chunk which Jessica Angel, the creative director, has taken the lead on, to do with some orbs that you can put your hands on and reach consensus between each other and light up different phases. And then there is also a centerpiece which is still in motion, so I won't talk about. But yeah, the hope is that a good chunk of those 20,000 people are gonna walk in and they're gonna experience a bit of Ethereum history, really touching on those early days and people that they may have got no clue were around, and have a little bit of a flavor of what that year was like and get your hands on.
And you're speaking on the main stage about it too, right? So like
I am talking about early days of Ethereum as well. Yeah, that's on. There's a stage that's like storytelling or culture. I can't remember quite what that's called. It's called like New France stage, I think. So yeah, I'll be giving a little talk there, though. Likely what I'll do is play some ancient videos for people's amusement. There are, there's really fun stuff from the very early days that a lot of people, again, they won't have seen. I mean, particularly that Toronto Bitcoin Expo. So that was in April 2014, and it was like the second time probably that most of the people on the team had met each other. Some had met in Miami in the January, and then some again met in that April. But at that point, Ethereum was like a company. So Ethereum were the headline sponsors for that event, and they had a booth, and they like gave away hundreds or thousands of T-shirts and flyers, and so it was, it was the Ethereum company for the one and only time that you ever had that. Though with the new EF being engaged again, they're not being the company, but they are starting to, to have a presence at events again, which I think is a very positive thing to see. That engagement. They're obviously never going to have an EF stand-up token or what have you, but having a presence at ETHDenver and ETHCC absolutely makes sense. So hopefully they'll have a good presence.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're looking forward to see you speak, Bob. But I remember, I think you were kind of planning the same. I mean, or also speaking about Ethereum early days at DevConnect, but then there was all issues with the Wi-Fi or something, or the internet, I remember. So I hope this time the internet is going to be good, because I remember DevConnect, so many people just left the main venue again because they couldn't do anything. It was super badly, the internet. And you can say, okay, it's like Argentina, but I mean, come on, they should have at least decent type of internet, hopefully.
I mean,
yeah, it will not be a problem in Denver. I can assure you of that. They've got good. They've been there a good chunk of time, and they know what they're doing. But yeah, the Wi-Fi in Argentina was dreadful. The other problem.
I mean, we went to offsite coffee shops for Wi-Fi, and so I don't think it was a general Argentina problem. It was definitely a problem.
I think it was just like a capacity problem because there were so many people there. And I mean, the problem specifically at the Ethereum Cypherpunk Congress was they only got in the venue 2 or 3 hours before the event. It was an absolute rush job. But
yeah, I mean, they did everything on the volunteers. I mean, they had so many volunteers because, of course, the most of the core organization of Ethereum privacy, they were just traveling. I mean, it was at the beginning of DevConnect, so most of the people were just arriving, and they said, okay, we're gonna let it be run by volunteers to set up all. So yeah, maybe there was an issue, but I mean, it was great. Just I think just unfortunate you couldn't do your talk there, but yeah, hopefully to see in Denver would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that talk I will record. I will re-record with them at some point. That still hasn't happened. But yeah, I mean, it's just a bit of a mess on the day. but yeah, Denver's fine. I mean, they've been planning it for
Perfect.
forever. So yeah, what's happening with Book of Ethereum? How's things in your world?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to manage the winter period of crypto as we speak. It's I mean, it's crazy times actually. But we're doing our best. We're managing things. Just focusing on like building the community. Really like making time to invest in community building. I think is like super important. You know, I see like these months of a big chance to like improve UX, improve onboarding strategies, because I feel like that's something that really like we still miss in if I speak in general crypto, Ethereum specifically also. I mean, because like they always speak about the millions of people we're still missing out to onboard, but then you also need to do something about it. And I see like these times are pretty good to do it. I mean, like there's slow volume days. Markets are like terrible at the moment. So yeah, it is what it is. So we need to look at other things to do now. But yeah, we're like really active still. And yeah, gonna be our first time in Denver now. So, and we will do other events this year also. I think we'll be at ECC also this year. And we're going to DEF CON probably also in Mumbai. Really looking forward to that one as well. But yeah, for the rest, like we're just, like I said, building the community, focusing on the onboarding and UX. And I mean, we will see when the markets pick up again. But yeah, for now, it's just a bit low volume. I mean, like I said, they call it the winter days. So yeah, we'll see. It's my first. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I feel like the sentiment all over is a bit lower. I mean, I feel people are kind of like, I wouldn't say depressed, but you know, most of the investors are like at least a bit down, low sentiment because of these times. So yeah.
I mean, I think we all feel that a little bit. Do we prefer, though, like the euphoria times have some real downsides too? You know, it's kind of hard to be, there's so much noise in the euphoria times. I kind of like the quiet times, you know, although it's been a weird, this past, you know, cycle, if you all believe in that. There's not really been too much of an alt run up, you know, which we had in the previous one. And so I think the euphoria never set in to the same way. It's sort of been like still a value accrual to staple assets mostly, and a few breakouts, but you know, it's not like it was.
Yeah, no, I don't really believe also in like the 4-year cycle or whatever it's called. I mean, I came in even after like the last supposedly perfect 4-year cycle, but I mean, I don't really know. If you would ask those people, they can never really explain on what it's based like. And I mean, even the best traders in the world, they cannot explain how the financial markets work, like what is going to be the future. I mean, they all just gas a bit on their feeling, and you know, they put things out of context to kind of try to find an explanation for things. But yeah, like for example, right now at like if we look at Ethereum, the asset just over the past 2 years, I mean, the way it's been moving, there is no real like clarification for it, like why it's going to a new all-time high and then again like completely down. I mean, it feels like there is some unexpected like market manipulation going on that like we don't have under control in some way. I mean, you could say like in after like the April crash last year, you could say, okay, like people like a Tom Lee and others brought back some hype with their staking announcements and all these things, and like the treasury companies. And I mean, it was a big thing in the summer. And then you saw like ETH doing very well. And then with the upgrade in the end of November that Ethereum did was massively. And you would think like everything looked perfectly fundamentally for like January and like Q1 in common. I mean, even like Tom Lee did some crazy predictions on the price of Ethereum. But yeah, like you see, it's not what it looks like. I mean, it's not because fundamentally everything is looking fine that for that reason also like the price is going to that target. So yeah, in my opinion, it's just unpredictable. I mean, I cannot predict it. Maybe you guys can. I cannot predict it. It's kind of hard, and it just is what it is. I mean, in my opinion, I'm just from the perspective that we have to undergo it and see what's going on and just focus on the building. Because like I said, I've said this also many times to our community, like if you're not here for like the building, the movement, the culture, then you will not last. If you're just purely here based on like the temporary price of the assets, then you're never gonna be here for many years, I think. So it's also quite like a difficult space for that. So yeah, it's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny because I my current thought about what's going on is that if you look at previous winters, and I know we've been through quite a few here, Bob,
So many.
but like they've been sort of more internal focused. Like the thing you could point to that kind of triggered them is like something happening in the crypto sphere itself, like ICOs going bust or NFTs or meme coins or whatever. And now, it's really a lot of things in the world are happening simultaneously, and crypto is just one of those things, right? Like metal prices have changed, equity prices have changed, currency prices have changed, and so my current thing is that it is a little bit different this time, because I think what's happening is crypto is becoming part of the macro infrastructure. And I think we'll look back and kind of think, okay, this is the time that crypto did just become part of the regular financial system, I think.
So
Yeah.
moving more away from speculation and more to utility.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's more speculation or utility. Like you could call the stock market's affected by a lot of speculation too, but I think it's moving more toward a more stable view of like people's view on what they are, and the use of it is kind of becoming more stable and
Right.
widespread. Like the number of holders are, like I think the choices that people have are not like, oh, do I move my crypto bags from one crypto to another? It's like, it's clear that people are kind of considering like, okay, should I move it into metals? Like we saw that happening, or should I move it into, other assets that are completely outside the crypto sphere?
Yeah, it's a funny thing, and tokenization makes that a lot easier. We saw the Eric Voorhees buy some huge quantity of PAX-G, and it hit the internet in a big way. And I think on balance, this is a good thing. Although, yeah, it makes you a little bit. Yeah, it's not the old days, right? And I've said before, it's unfortunate, right, that ETH, Bitcoin, et cetera, seem to trade like a high beta tech stock. They're risk on assets still, and they're not behaving like metals, which are somewhat anti-correlated, let's say, with what the stock market does. I think so. The positive side is RWAs can help achieve a certain type of like practical day-to-day sovereignty, where you have a basket of assets that are both resilient from a price change perspective. In addition, the RWAs may be a little bit less purely cypherpunk. But again, we've seen strange thing also, like so stables in circulation have like doubled year over year, a little bit more, and floating crypto prices went down. And I suppose there's no in principle reason those things have to go together. I mean, eventually usage goes up, you'll see crypto prices go up in kind of a commodity way. But interesting times.
Well, I think on that note, like the other thing that's not, typically when we've had these other winters, total volumes have gone down, and that's not necessarily true now. So I one way to kind of think about it that I've been thinking of is that we thought crypto was the hedge against the mainstream markets, but I think the actual mechanism is DeFi. Like people are using DeFi to hedge in all kinds of different places, and because it's global and 24/7, it allows you to do that way more efficiently than, like it's the rails themselves that are the hedge.
There's a lot of leverage in the system now too. Still people believe that the big sell-offs have been liquidation driven. So we saw the beginning, kind of like in the FTX cycle, we saw the beginning on 10/10, and things are still shaking out. I've seen tweets today about block fills suspending withdrawals. So supposedly a bunch of big firms are just trying to manage maybe effective insolvency from leverage. And it's more leverage than before. The hyperliquids and the like kind of created 20x effective leverage out of thin air, I believe. And there's good use for these products and so on. It just means the swings are going to be bigger, the blow ups and so on. So yeah, interesting times all around.
Yeah, like what I also feel a bit is that like what Victor has been saying, like I think DeFi is gonna be making a major move. I mean, it has to be also because, like I said, the stables have doubled, and I think that's also because people take less risks, and especially like the builders, they're taking less risks. They're like exploring ways like how can DeFi like generate as passive income over time without like needing to take unnecessary risk. And I think if you look into it, it's like it's a big. I mean, like I said, I think if they can explore it more, and we can actually do what like people like Vitalik and Gavin Wood have been saying from the very beginning on, like that's like what are you going to build on Ethereum and all the places to build like applications. I mean, we haven't seen, I think, all the possibilities of Ethereum yet. Like I said, the past cycles we have seen a lot of speculative things, and we had the NFTs hype and everything, but like the real like upcoming trend of DeFi applications that are real businesses built by individuals. Also, you don't need a big corporation anymore to start your own business on Ethereum, and I think that's going to be a major one. Also, what I see recently is that like in the past, it was very difficult for people that were no like software engineers to build something on Ethereum. But what you see now is, and the EF is also quite bullish on all these things, that are the agents, especially with like the Clawbot stuff that's going around now, the mold book. I mean, even we as a community, we have done our own ERC 8004 agent, who's like now participating in hackathons for us, who's like building things for us. I mean, we're exploring with it as well. It is the future. And I think a part of like bringing people in, decentralized, the self-custody story and all these things, I think the opportunity for people that were never be able to build something or to create something to now with like the invention of AI and agents to build their own DeFi applications, I think that's going to be something we're going to see in the next years, I feel like. And it's also something I feel like the builders are more pushing forward to. I mean, it's kind of the subjects and topics everywhere right now, and less like the highly speculative or volatile assets, So I think building infrastructure during this winter is gonna be in your advantage. Yeah,
and I totally agree with that, because it's like, without the noise, I said in the article, I didn't know if this was just because I'm Canadian and I have a fondness for winter generally, but there is a quiet building that happens. And Ethereum itself would have never launched at the time it did unless it was for the winter we had it there. Like it also forces you to kind of focus on what is really meaningful for the future. So I think that's that's one. Like, no one likes the pain of bad prices, but it does allow you to kind of refocus your efforts on things that are on a smaller number of super important things.
Yeah, I think it's good as long as you don't die.
As long as you don't get completely wrecked. Yeah, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. It's kind of hard to like build products, but like fully be dependent on the price of your assets. You need to like find solutions for that. Like I said, like with stable coins, like building up yields, farming yield, all these things, like generating your fees and everything. Like there's so many possibilities you can explore on. I mean, it's also because of the long bad times, especially, I mean, on chain. If you look on chain, there has never been a good moment since I think just before Trump got elected. I think it was the last time we saw like some big on-chain volume. So since then, all those teams, bro, they need to look at other opportunities. So yeah, that was what I've been seeing lately. But I think that like the projects that are building, the assets of them will recover in due time. If they can like adapt to this new way of moving. And those that will adapt, I think those will be the ones that are going to be successful. And if you cannot adapt, and if you just stay in like the old format of like, oh, we're just going to do some hype and, just purely based off like no value, no fundamentals behind it, then I think it's just going to die, like Bob says. But if you actually like really can adapt to the future and use all of these things and push forward, I think better times are ahead 100%, but you just gotta continue. And I think the real projects that are nonstop continuing to build, I think those will be the ones that will make it eventually.
Yeah, and I think also you got to take a broader view. Like if my thesis of that crypto is now part of the mainstream is correct, then you're not just comparing to other crypto projects. You're comparing to legacy banking systems that were basically built in the 70s and haven't been updated. So like if you think like now the question is like where are the next booms coming from? It's that are people going to trust their money on those systems, or are they going to move to global decentralized 24/7 systems? And I think for all of us the answer is obvious, but I think the world is just starting to catch up to it, like in a broader
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like a really important moment now because a lot of the banks are starting to really get into crypto now. They want to bring crypto to their platform so they can handle their customers directly, because there's coming more and more interest. People want to buy Ethereum, people want to buy Bitcoin, people want to buy Solana or whatever, and the banks need to provide for it. Especially in Europe, I'm seeing this right now. Like they are trying to push forward with like new laws to be voted so that the banks are allowed to like handle crypto and stuff. But I see already like kind of issues with it, and it will be like purely people that will own the asset and they will see it purely as an investment. And unfortunately, what I'm seeing is that people, if they go with the bank way, they will never be able to like explore their full potential. Like they won't even be able to have their own ownership of the wallet. The bank will host it again, like they always do. They're just gonna see it as a new way of like stock investment type of thing, and they're not really like knowing what's going on. So that's why I think as a project now in the on-chain space, in DeFi, you really have to focus on onboarding and UX, because there is a lot of potential now to get people on I mean, I wouldn't say your side, but like to get them into DeFi so they don't choose the banks, because otherwise we're going to get into like a big trouble where it's going to be a fight whether like the banks can onboard more people or whether we can onboard more people. So I think that's something to look into, and especially it's what I'm trying to do for my generation. I mean, all the people that are currently at uni studying or just like young age, they have like the potential to make the difference. So yeah, I think that's really important, because otherwise all these things we're doing, like the building, is just not gonna matter. I feel like, so we have a big chance. We have all the infrastructure, we have the technology. We just have to focus on onboarding and UX. That's, I think, the most important.
And I think agents are maybe our largest customer base moving forward.
Feels like, yeah. That's a really good, because it will be just a while before Legacy Financial can deal with agents. They'll figure it out eventually, but it's like there's a lot of problems you need, a meat space person to deal with when you've got a bank account that you just, don't have to in the crypto world. I just adding on to Colin's point, one thing I like to say is I look at like an Uber as a model, in the sense that, they're operating, a little gray, right? Like they kind of, they're going and letting people give car rides, and the taxi union doesn't like it, and so on. And consumers picked it, right? And, at least Uber mostly won in the United States. They get taxed and so on. In Europe, sometimes it's just going to the it's just routing for the local taxis and so on. But it's a model, people picked it because it was awesome, right? And crypto is awesome, but it's awesome like unevenly. There's just a lot of sharp edges that you don't know how to deal with as a newbie. It's a little bit unfriendly to people who are not super expert. A lot of jargon, a lot of it's a kind of feels like an insidery culture, right? And so we've got to be more kind of normie friendly, I would say, in the approach.
Yeah,
build the tech, how you talk about the tech, and so on. And to Colin's point, it is absolutely a fight for the same deposits, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And crypto is more capable than what the legacy financial world has in ways we also just haven't even imagined yet. But yeah, it just needs enough liquidity and whatnot to see all of that happen. So I think it's, by the way, a big guiding principle for the things we build is to try to keep it true to cypherpunk values to the maximal possible extent, but make it as easy as possible to onboard the regular human being.
Well, and I think one thing, and Colin, you're talking about UX, which I think people think of as just like how things look or how you interact with it. And Bob, you kind of coined that term that I like agentic experience. I think part of it is how should the system behave in a variety of ways. And I think one aspect that crypto hasn't done well, and we are really kind of focused on, is how do you create sensible defaults where if you come into the system, you're highly unlikely to get wrecked. Like other systems tend to push you to be super highly levered. And, when markets hit these winters, you just get destroyed and you never want to come back, right? And so it is, I think, part of the overall experience is like, what does safety look like? And I don't think it's about cybersecurity as much as it is about, like I said, sensible defaults that you should keep in order. And, banks impose that on you. So there should be some user choice here, but, you got to give users options, at least at the starting point, and then move them toward more leverage or riskier behaviors when they understand the system, which is kind of hard to do right now.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, you go.
I mean, I just want to add that that the thing is, I feel like what I mean with UX is also, I mean, I look back at my own story. I mean, I joined when I was 16, was quite young. But when I joined in the first year, all the money that I brought into crypto, I lost it all. That was my first year of experiencing crypto, and what many of my friends also experienced of people where I came in touch with first, mostly on these random Telegram groups, and this is how I entered the crypto space basically. And but then back then I was so young and I was just thinking it's all normal, and this is the way you need to get yourself into it. But now I'm looking at a more business perspective and seeing hey, this is absolutely not normal. I mean, we're more people that are getting in are just getting out again because they don't feel the safety that they should feel. They don't get the support they should get. They don't get the right things to use, the right tools, the right onboarding guidelines and everything. And I think that's what I mean with UX, with onboarding. All the companies building something on crypto should really make a priority of it, that they can bring the right people in, and that they can educate them first before even letting them just explore the on-chain world. Because otherwise, like Victor said, you're going to get wrecked, you're going to lose money, people will just go out and they will speak bad about the space. I mean, everyone who is speaking bad about crypto is all just because they got wrecked on whether it's a random coin, they got scammed because they clicked the wrong links, or their wallet got drained, or they sent money to the wrong wallets. All these type of cases, it could be so easily prevented just if we kind of educate everyone that is coming into it. And I know it's time consuming maybe, and it's it takes time to do this, but it's super important if you want to be successful in the long term. I mean, and that's just something that I really feel from my own experience that we should focus on more. And like Kieran said, and this is the last thing I want to add to, is yes, and this is also what Vitalik has been saying in his recent posts, yes, the cyberfront culture is super important. Decentralization, self-sovereignty, self-custody, all super important, privacy and all these things. And we have been building the tech. We have been doing absolutely amazing on the builder side. But please, keep it to that. And for the customers, for the public, it's not relevant. If you're not a computer science guy or someone we built, it's not relevant for you to read these things or to first start with. I mean, because then you're going to be completely lost and you wouldn't understand. Keep this on the background, but bring it over to your customers as hey, this is super safe to use. These are all the advantages, but explain it to them, like Kieran says, in a normie way that they all can understand. And I think if we can really push forward these type of methods, then we're going to see a big progress over the next years. That's just
and Colin, your story is bang on. I mean, you're super brave for losing everything and then coming back and recommitting.
Yeah.
But I think when I think of UX, the moment that one of our principles is, if you're a beginner, you should be able to get in and make a little bit of profit very, very easily without having to worry about all these things, right? And it's only when you step full on the gas, then you have to worry. But if we can change that simple experience from like your first experience with crypto, where it's like, Vitalik talks about low risk DeFi, right? Like if that can be like the first thing where, oh, I've just made a little bit, like I've done something simple, hardly anything, and I've made a little bit, then you can kind of explore, and then we can have that gradual on-ramp to kind of get to the next people. Because I think very few people are as brave as you, Colin, frankly, or coming back.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just feel like, I mean, there are thousands of people like me who experience this, like thousands, 10,000, 100,000 people. And unfortunately, some of them really like start to believe this is all just a scam and all these things, and they just completely leave. They go to stocks or whatever, and then they just do some normal stuff, like in the Web2 space. But yeah, and like what you said, it's really important to focus on those things. And what Vitalik has been saying about like low risk DeFi, but also about like his recent post of the layer 2s, which like, so I saw so many degens on X who were like misinterpreting what he said and were saying like, oh, L2s are bad, we should like close down, it's a failed project. Yeah, this is why Ethereum price is going down, all this type of nonsense. But most of the normal people read this actually and they believe it. But like to put in perspective, like basically what Vitalik meant, I think, is that like the L2s are getting a bit stuck, in going to their second phase, and they're a bit just too competitive to each other. Like, oh, who is the cheapest gas? Who is this? Who is that? It's like the mini Ethereums. But what they should actually do is, and Vitalik kind of uses a marketing principle here. He says like, you need to focus on like your USP, like what is your unique selling proposition, and that's really important for the layer 2s. They should focus each on their own USP and bring that to the customers, bring that to the normies, and stop with like focusing on, we are going to be the cheapest one, we are going to be the highly competitive one, because it's not necessary, because the L1 is keeping on scaling. Vitalik also said like, don't worry, like with the L1 we're keeping the scalability high, look what we did in the past, just focus on it. And that's actually what he meant with a long post, like to keep it in like normal language. But I think that's what the layer 2s, for example, should focus on. And what you said also with low risk DeFi, that's also another major factor. But all these things make sense. And I think Vitalik has been saying quite some good things lately, but it's just people interpreted it the wrong way, like they usually do.
All righty. Well, I'm looking at the clock. We're coming up on the hour. So I think that's probably a good time to leave it. So I shall see you all in Denver next week.
Yes.
Yes.
Playing with Mist on one of your laptops.
There you go.
Everyone out there, please, again, check us out. Bridge in. Big things coming soon. There's the vault, but everything else as well. And also check out Colin's community. Colin, you want to leave a last note?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thanks for having me. And yeah, looking forward to speak to all of you guys again in Denver. I mean, it's been a long time since I see you guys. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Yeah, let's keep the discussions going further on in Denver. So thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.